Hello, good morning, and good afternoon, my future chef friends. Welcome to this month's episode of Fresh for Kids. If you take a look, if you can see the ingredients here on our countertop, and of course if you can see my shirt, maybe you know what we are going to put together today. November 14th, which is just a few days away from now, is National Spicy Guacamole Day. So we are gonna make not only spicy guacamole, we are gonna make our own homemade tortilla chips, and they are so delicious. I made these at home last week, and I may not ever buy bagged tortilla chips again. They were so good and super easy to make. So again, this month we're doing 2 recipes, so we'll be doing them at the same time or simultaneously. So for our tortilla chips, this one's very simple, very few ingredients. We're going to need corn tortillas. Now at home, I experimented by using both yellow corn tortillas and white corn tortillas. I preferred the white corn. Do your own experiments and make whichever one you like, and if you're lucky, maybe you can find blue corn tortillas and use those. But you'll need corn tortillas, you will need some olive oil to spray on your baking sheet. Traditionally, tortilla chips are fried in oil, but we're gonna do this a little bit safer and we're going to bake them. And they are actually super delicious and they stay crispy for a really long time, where when you fry them, you have to eat them almost right away and they get stale very quickly because of the oil content. So in addition to that olive oil, we're gonna need a little bit of just traditional olive oil and some lime juice. We're gonna mix that together. And I'm gonna just use a little bit of seasoning for the top. You don't have to do that, but that's the way I made them at home and they were quite delicious. So what we are gonna need for our spicy guacamole, of course, we are going to need avocados. They are so delicious, they're really good for you too. And I don't know if you know this already or not, but the Aztecs invented guacamole. So if you love it, definitely thank the Aztecs, because this is all because of them. Guacamole actually translates to avocado sauce and was traditionally made with smashed avocados, tomatoes, and salt. We're gonna add a few other things to our spicy guacamole today. We are going to add tomatoes. We are going to add a jalapeno, which is what makes it spicy, cilantro, a red onion, lime juice. Uh-oh, my onion just ran away. Another thing that is going to make it spicy is sriracha. This is a chili paste. It's very, very good. I brought this from home. We use it quite a lot. Another thing that I really like that you could use in place of or in addition to the sriracha is something called sambal, and it's very similar to sriracha. It's a chili paste, but it has garlic in it. It is so delicious. We're gonna use a little bit of minced garlic, and again, I like to buy it in the squeezy jar already minced up. It makes life so much easier. And we're also gonna add some cumin and kosher salt. And our bowl to mix it in. The tool we're gonna use for this is called a potato masher, but it is perfect for mashing up avocados for guacamole. So gather up your ingredients and I'll meet you back here and we will get started. See you in a moment. We are back. We are gonna start with making our tortilla chips. And while they bake, we will get to work on our guacamole. First things first, we want to make sure that our oven is turned on and preheated to 375 degrees, which mine is already. So then we're gonna take our stack of tortillas, and of course you can tailor this to how many people you will need to make chips for. Maybe you're making this at home just for your family. Maybe you're making it for a party that you're going to have at your house, or maybe take something along with you to a party or a gathering at a friend or a family member's house. It's the holiday season, so this is a perfect recipe to take along with you and impress your family and friends. So let's get started. We have our stack of tortillas, and in this bowl right here, I have mixed together about 2 tablespoons of olive oil and the juice from 2 limes. Depending on how much you love or don't love lime, you can use more or less than that to add to the flavor. So we are going to take our first one, and silicone brushes are the best invention ever when it comes to making something like this. So they definitely work a lot better and are far easier at cleanup than a bristled brush. So I like the silicone. So we're just going to brush that on just on the top, whole thing coated, and move that over. Go to our second one, and we're going to stack these. So the oil from the top of this one will be on the bottom of this one. So they get a little bit of oil on both sides. All right. So you see what we're doing here. Once you've got your stack, we're going to take a good sharp kitchen knife, and we're just going to cut these into triangles. All right. So halves, and then you can just do 3 triangles from there. What I'm doing here. All right. And there we have perfectly shaped tortilla chips. And then we're gonna just put them on our cookie sheet. I've already sprayed this with olive oil. You could use whatever kind of oil you like. Olive oil just has a very rich taste and it's perfect for cooking. So we are going to lay our triangles out on our cookie sheet. And again, depending on how many chips you're making, you might need more than 1 cookie sheet. The cookie sheets we have here at the library are a lot smaller than the ones I have at home, so we're definitely gonna need 2. You can get them pretty close together. You don't really have to space them out too far. They're gonna shrink up a little bit as they bake. So unlike baking cookies where they kind of spread out as they get warmer, these do the opposite. And we are back. This oven right here, I set my timer for 8 and they were still a little bit late, so I put them in for another 1.5 minutes, so about 9.5 minutes, and they turned out perfect to the way I like them, which is just slightly golden brown. They look delicious and I cannot wait to eat those with this spicy guacamole. So let's get started. So what have I done here? I have halved and de-seeded or pitted our avocados, so they look like this, and I have scooped the majority of them into this bowl. Now, when you are using avocados for a recipe, particularly for guacamole, because you need them to be the right consistency, the right texture, or firmness, you will probably have to shop maybe a day or so in advance. Sometimes it's really hard to get the perfect avocados for a recipe like this the day of. I actually went to Publix the other day and they had no avocados at all at one particular location, so I went to another and they had loads of them. So it really just depends on which grocery stores you shop in, but you want them to be a little bit soft but not too squishy because you don't want them too browned. A nice buttery texture because you want them to be fairly easy to scoop out. And I know we've made guacamole before, but we're just going to run through the scooping of the avocado one more time. So if they are the right consistency, this should be very easy. They should just scoop right out, almost like a buttery texture. Right, so we have 3 avocados now that we have halved and pitted. One thing though, I will tell you, if you're not going to be eating this guacamole immediately, if you're going to be storing it for a little while before it gets used for dinner or party, whatever occasion you might be using this for, keep those pits, and here's why. They will keep your guacamole from browning before you are ready to use it. Sometimes, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the avocados are bad, or that the guacamole is going to taste right. Sometimes they just get a little brown from oxidation on the top layer, and if you mix it right up, it turns bright green again. But this, if you store it with those pits on top of it, it will keep that from happening quite as much. So another tip that I'll tell you when you are storing it, if you're not using it right away, even if you put it in an airtight container, if it doesn't fill the entire container, take plastic wrap and push it down as tightly as you can onto the surface of the guacamole, and then put your lid on your airtight container. Again, that will keep too much air from getting to your guacamole and turning it brown. Okay, so we have our avocados in here, and I'm going to use a potato masher. I have found this to be the absolute perfect tool for making guacamole. And again, when they are that nice, soft, buttery texture, this part is very easy. Now, if you do buy some avocados, say for instance you go to your grocery store and all of them that they have are very, very firm and almost hard as rocks, which definitely happens a lot when they first get them in, and maybe you need them for the very next day and they're not gonna be quite soft enough. Another trick, you can put them in a brown paper bag overnight and they will ripen a little bit quicker. Avocados, Haas avocados in particular, don't ripen fully until they are actually harvested or taken down from the tree. So another fun fact about avocados. So now I've got it to my perfect consistency, and you can do it as chunky as you like. I like it to have a little bit of chunk in it. So that's what mine looks like. And to that, we are going to add, I have diced up 2 tomatoes. The recipe called for Roma tomatoes. I just have fresh from the vine tomatoes. Use whatever is your favorite. But of course, if you are using produce that you did not grow in your backyard, make sure you rinse it really, really well before using it. Also gonna use some red onion, diced red onion. Again, my recipe called for half a cup. I'm using more like almost a whole cup. Depends on how much you love onions. Go with what you love. And then I have 1 jalapeno, which I have diced up as well. The thing with jalapenos, you never really know what you're gonna get until you cut into it. Sometimes they, you can have 2 jalapenos that are same size, look exactly the same. One can be quite spicy, the other one hardly at all. You never know. But it is the seeds and the skin on the inside of the pepper that has all of the capsaicin, which is what makes it super spicy in it. So if you don't want a lot of spice, you can de-seed them. What I did is I de-seeded 1/2 of my jalapeno and I left the other, so it'll be just a little bit spicy. And we have some cilantro. Again, this is one of those ingredients you either love it or you hate it. Some people have in their DNA, their genes are coded that cilantro tastes like soap, and that's really unfortunate because I think it tastes delicious, and it's a real bummer if you don't like it. So if you don't like it, definitely you don't have to add it in. The recipe called for 2 tablespoons. I'm using just slightly more than that because I do love cilantro. We are also going to add, it calls for 1 clove of minced garlic, which is about a tablespoon. That's the great part about this recipe. This is really one of those that like you can add it to the way you like it. It's not like pastry baking where you have to be super exact with your measurements because of science. This is more about how you want something to taste. So we are also going to add a little dash of cumin. Gives it that nice Latin flavor. The recipe called for the juice of 2 limes. I am only using the juice of 1 lime since we already have some lime juice on our chips. I don't want it to be too overwhelmingly acidic. And here is what's gonna make it spicy. Sriracha, it calls for a teaspoon to taste, depends on how spicy you like it. I'm just gonna squeeze a little bit on, but I'm also going to add just a little bit of our sambal because it has a little bit of garlic in it too, and I quite like it. But just a little bit goes a long way. Okay. And then 3/4 of a teaspoon of kosher salt. Again, this is a you measurement. Some people like a little more salt, some people like less. All right, so now we have all of our ingredients, very colorful, in our bowl together, and we're just gonna fold it in. And folding again is just a little bit more gentle than stirring or mixing aggressively. Folding, you're just going along the edge of the bowl from top to bottom and then scooping everything from the bottom up to the top. And that keeps our avocados from getting mushier. And this looks so good. It smells terrific. So that is what our guacamole, spicy guacamole, is going to look like when it's finished. And again, we have our homemade chips, and let me tell you how delicious these chips are. You also may never buy bagged chips again. And you can add any other seasonings that you might like onto these chips, or like I said, just leave them plain if you don't like too much lime. You could go very light on the lime or just not use lime at all and only just use the oil and the kosher salt. Whatever is your preference, but I can tell you for sure, if you make this recipe and take it to your friends or family gatherings for the holidays, they are going to be super impressed with you. And I know that you are going to love it. So enjoy this recipe. If you make it, please do share with us what you thought of it and if you added anything different and how it turned out. I hope that you all have a lovely month of November, and we will see you again next time on Fresh for Kids here at the Maitland Public Library. Bye.